Leslie Goldman is here. Leslie, do you want to just wave? Thank you, Leslie, for coming. And Carolyn, do you have anything that you would like to say? Okay, well, thank you, and thanks for coming. Okay, anybody else, any other senators or representatives? No. Okay, great. Well, thank you. It's been a really hard year to govern, and we all appreciate the work you have been doing. So, thanks. Okay, now I believe the select board would like to make a presentation. Is that you, Susan? Great.
Can you hear me? I'm going to give the Citizen of the Year, or the Citizens of the Year award. Are Dick and Lori Miller here? There they are. Maybe you want to bring it to them. So this is long overdue. Lori is Westminster Care's longest serving Meals on Wheels driver. She's driven meals more than 30 years. And Dick joined her about 15 years ago, and he's been driving Meals on Wheels too. And Lori also volunteered Westminster Care's garden tour and is a substitute strong living instructor. She's also been on the board of the Westminster Institute for more than 30 years. She was also on the Parks Place board, and her gardening talents she put to work there. Dick served on the school board and is as chairman of the school board also, I think. Yes, Dick, is that correct? Yes. He taught school and has mentored many children at Kern Hatton and Westminster Center School. He's taught driver's safety to seniors. Can you hear me? Yeah. And both Dick and Lori have been longtime election volunteers. So they really know what service is about. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Dick and Lori. Dick, I think you taught many multi-generations of majors, as well as many of the rest of us. And Lori, I think you were the first non-family member to cut my hair when I had it.
I just have a couple more things. I just wanted to thank Sheldon Beebe, who has left the select board this year, for his many years on the board. And also Allie Bigwood, who was town clerk since 2014 till last year. Thanks to them. And I've been appointed to make the announcement about the bathroom, which is in the back of the Institute.
Okay, thank you, Susan. All right, at this point, we will begin the regular meeting. And so I will call the legal voters of the town of Westminster and the town fire district number 3 to order. Today, Saturday, May 15, at now 10:18:21 in the morning, at the Westminster Institute outside on this lovely day. Okay, and I am going to follow a tradition that Fletcher started or adopted from some other town meetings with a little invocation. Let us pause for a moment of silence and reflection. We are gathered together in civil assembly. We gather as a community in the oldest sense of the word. We gather to come together and try to make decisions about what is right, about what is wrong. Let us advocate for our positions, but not at the expense of others. Let us remember there is an immense gap between saying I am right and saying I believe I am right. And that our neighbors with whom we disagree are good people with hopes and dreams as true and high as ours. And let us always remember that in the end, caring for each other in this community is of far greater importance than any difference we may have. Thank you. We are going to run the meeting with Robert's Rules of Order, except where Vermont law takes precedence. I'm going to do a quick summary of what that means. An article must be moved and seconded by the body and restated by the moderator before it is under consideration. Articles may have only one associated amendment at a time, and that amendment may have only one amendment associated with them. After you've spoken once on a particular article, you will not be recognized until all other voters who wish to speak on the issue are given an opportunity to do so. And again, if you would like to talk, gather or stand up near the microphone, and I will call on you as is appropriate. A division of the House can be requested by one voter before or after a voice vote. State law provides for a paper ballot on the request of 7 voters. Unless the town is on the request of 7 voters. This means the moderator could ask for a voice vote, declare the motion passed, someone could request a division of the House, then there must be a vote by show of hands or rising. The moderator declares the motion passed, then someone could request a paper ballot, and the moderator would have to honor this request if the number of people asking for the paper ballot meets the minimum 7 per person requirement. Debate may be cut off by a motion to call the question, a second, and a 2/3 vote to do so. All motions, remarks, and discussion must be addressed to the moderator. If you, again, and that will need to come from the microphone over there. State law prohibits consideration of articles that have not been warned. This means you cannot take binding action under the article other business. Reconsideration of an article is allowed by state law until a point is reached where another article is under consideration, and that happens when I read that motion. Someone can move it, seconded, and then I repeat or state the motion. That's when we're actually into the next order of business. Up till that point, we can reconsider a previous motion. My role as moderator is to help you accomplish the business you intend to do. Please raise your hand and ask questions if you don't understand what is happening. If you think what is happening is wrong for some reason, or if you want to do something but don't know how to proceed, please tell me if you feel I am ruling improperly. At this time, I ask that all who are not registered voters in the town, please raise your hand. Unless there is a suspension of rules, you may not speak on articles. So I see a couple of people here. Thank you. Okay. Also, keeping with the family tradition, the Proctor family tradition, Ian Proctor, Patty and Fletcher's son, has volunteered to be our parliamentarian. Thank you, Ian. Okay, so now we move on to the substance of the meeting. The first article is all done. We have already voted on March 2nd, Tuesday, March 2nd, for officers. So we can skip right over that. The second article is to hear the reports of the town officers and take action thereupon. So is there a motion to approve the reports of the town officers, which you find in your town report? So moved by Fletcher Proctor. Is there a second? Second by Randy Major. Any discussion? Questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you, town, for that town report. Article 3, what is your pleasure?
Hello. Oh, sorry. Good morning and welcome to all of you. On behalf of myself and the board, before I begin, we just want to extend all our great appreciation and thanks for all your help during this difficult year, which affected everyone. And we all wish, obviously this is not, we also wish that, what's that?
Move it further away.
Hold it away. Does this work? Sorry. We wish on behalf of all of us that you and your families had a very safe year, that nobody was adversely affected as worse as they could. And we wish you all and your families the very best of everything. And thank you for being here. Just following up to Sue's comments, thanking Sheldon, Beebe, and Allison Bigwood for their service. We'd like to also point out that we have welcomed Jason Perry to the board, and our new town clerk, Pauline O'Brien. And thank you. And I too would be remiss, having served with Lori Miller here on the Institute board, these beautiful grounds, that this is a person who got no money and for years and years would spend all kinds of time trying to organize our social events for children and weddings, birthdays. And she, sometimes it's, you don't really see it unless you're working with somebody. So thank you so much, Lori, for all you did. And lastly, to a lawyer I'm going to miss. That's not easily said in life. Fletcher Proctor has been a teacher and a civil servant, and someone who has, without question, demonstrated what it means to maintain civil respect for one another and continue to carry on the huge tradition of representative government in the state of Vermont, and this very special place where it began in Westminster. And we wish you and your family all the best in all your new endeavors. Thank you. And we also welcome our new leader, David Major. Big shoes to fill, and I'm sure you will do it. Okay, moving on. Article 3. Shall the voters of the town of Westminster authorize total general fund expenditures for operating expenses of $2,128,145, of which $1,504,265 shall be raised by taxes, and $523,880 estimated revenue, and $100,000 from the fiscal year 2019-2020 general fund surplus for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. My brief remarks heading into this discussion are as follows.
Kevin,
Yeah.
One moment, please, because it needs to be seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then,
My apologies.
and then we'll move on from there. Okay, Kevin has moved Article 3. Is there a second? Seconded by Adrian Major. And that the motion reads, shall the voters of the town of Westminster authorize total general fund expenditures for the operating expenses of $2,128,145, of which $1,504,265 shall be raised by taxes, and $523,880 by estimated revenue, and $100,000 from fiscal year 2019 to 2020 general fund for surplus, for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30, 2022. Kevin, you made the motion. Do you have some remarks?
Just a few brief ones. Let's get this right this time. Just so everyone's aware, health insurance went up slightly at 2% in 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Inter-office technical support went up approximately $8,000 to cover growing concerns regarding tightening up the ship, errors, data loss, transparency. Employee raises in budget at 2.5%. In June, a close look into the Vermont cost of living adjustment figures will take place, and then the board will adjust raises accordingly when the estimates are justified and accurate. Trash is up according to contract extension about 3%, but the cost of household trash is up as well, leaving us with a deficit in that line each year. We have tried to counter this with a $35,000 increase. Offsetting surplus being requested to offset taxes being raised of $100,000, and I'm pleased to report that the equipment loan is now paid in full. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Any discussion, questions for the select board? John.
Well, I'm John Ewald, and I have the select board. Are the sheriffs here today, or is there a sheriff in attendance? And was the sheriff asked to be here?
Russ, the town manager, says that they were asked.
Okay, and so I would like to change the amount. I can get my glasses on here. To instead of 2,128,145, I'd like to make it 2,100,000, and I'd like to take $28,145 off the sheriff's budget. I think that we're basically, our sheriff is usually the most rookiest of rookies here in Westminster, and they've gone up from when I first remembered it was like 15,000. Now they're at 82,000. So I'm thinking that we can cut that by 28,145.
Are you making an amendment?
I guess I'm making an amendment to change the operating expenses of the town, saving $28,145, and that would be taken up from the sheriff's budget.
Is there a second? There is. By Matt Conklin. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Any discussion on this amendment? Susan?
Russ, does that include the animal control, the new animal control contract?
Okay, so to answer your question, we, as a select board, we knew that we weren't happy with the contract. So in this year's contract that we signed, it's basically like a half a year contract. And if we're not happy with it, if their performance doesn't get better, then we threaten to not renew it. So we put that in because they had to have that amount, but we didn't sign a contract for the whole year. We only did a half a year. And that's where the select board, we were going to come back to them and say, because we want better performance than what we've seen. So we haven't been happy with it. And we're trying to address it.
Okay. So getting back, you weren't happy the year before, but you still gave them the 82,000 that they're asking for.
That was the least they would do it for. They came back, they reassigned. We got help now from Putney. We have seen them out. They have been doing it. They've been doing better. Let's put it that way. They've been turning in the hours, and we actually signed a contract too. They only get paid for the hours they do. So on it. But to answer your question, yeah, we're trying to review that with the idea that where were we going on it. But they do other things too for us. Like we just had some pretty good sized break-ins and stuff like that. So on it. But when we joined with Putney, so we share a sheriff down there. So it can work out. And that's originally how we did. And we originally had some grant money to do it. Now it is costing more. Cost of the vehicle costs more. But we're trying to address as a select board. So we're trying to reassure you that this is the year where we either see they make a change or we're going to readjust it. But that was, well, as a select board, we agreed that we did not want to sign a whole year contract.
Getting back to it, you've got $82,000 that you're asking us to approve.
Correct.
And you're only got you're not happy with them, number one. And number two, you paid them 82,000 last year. You still aren't happy. So it seems like something's not right. I mean, to me anyway. That's why I'm thinking, let's save some money. You can put that money somewhere else. But I think that it's time for them to show up. It's time for them to give us somebody that we maybe can get a relationship with instead of having the rookie all the time. I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years. And I'm sure that person who is our sheriff, does he know every place in town? Probably not, because he's just moved here. So I think it's time for the sheriff to step up, and I think we can make them step up a little bit by cutting their budget. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you, John. Are there other people who would like to speak on this issue, on this amendment? Yes.
John, big microphone. Microphone is here.
Russ, is it 37 hours a week?
John Gregg.
Yeah, hi, John Gregg. So what do they actually do? Do they actually like investigate house breaks, or are they just writing speeding tickets? And I know a couple of years ago, it seemed like they were bringing someone up from Massachusetts who was patrolling the town. So to what extent are they actually, is that someone following through if they are investigating stuff?
If it's I guess I can explain it this way. If there's a break-in or something, and then they turn the investigation over to the state police, they are here to monitor businesses, homes. So if we have anything from a dog problem to a drug problem, and just like what he said, we were hoping to have a sheriff that's been here for a longer period of time. Their contract right now reads for 40 hours a week, and then we get 40 hours a week from Putney that they share. So we get 80 hours a week. Some weeks we might get nothing. It all depends on where they're needed to go. So if you don't see them, they might be in Putney, or there's other times there might be two people here in Westminster. We shared with Putney with the idea that same thing, that one would be kind of assigned to Westminster and one would be assigned to Putney, but they would help each other out for vacations. Just like the other day, we had basically they hit Sefka all the way up to Fall Mountain or Duran's, which is now Faith, and took catalyst converters. We called them in. They're now monitoring the yard more, working with the state police to investigate who's cutting all these catalyst converters out of the. But also, Russ would use them for dog complaints, to go to a home to help out with a person in a confrontation. So yeah, when they're working, they do a pretty good job. That we think the problem was we weren't getting the hours, and so now they're trying to make up for it. Came to us, they explained that it's hard to find state police or sheriffs. Everybody's going through the process of losing help to other places, and they're having a hard time. They're hoping that they got more of a stable crew right now, is what they're thinking. The problem is, if we cut this budget by that, I don't know how it would work, because the minimum they have is this right now. So at the end of the year, would we just not have 28,000 to pay them, and they would be out of service? Not that we couldn't go back. I don't know how it would work.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Anyone else want to speak on this issue?
Charlotte Gifford.
Charlotte.
Mr. Moderator, I believe that any vote we take from the floor is a recommendation to the select board. That is, we cannot require the select board to cut from that particular line. If that is correct, I'd like to know, would the select board honor this vote if this body passes it, or would you cut from something else? Because we would not be able to force you to specifically cut this line, although that be the intent of the motion.
The select board has been queried.
So what
So-
you're saying is if we cut the 28,000 from the, we'd be required to cut 28,000 from the budget, but not necessarily take it from the sheriff's.
Could I raise a point
Department.
of order?
Oh, please do.
That's true of school board budgets. It's not true of town budgets. This meeting has the authority to do line by line changes or vetoes in the select board's budget, and it's binding on the select board.
Thank you, Fletcher. Okay, anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Okay, the amendment that we have before us is to subtract $28,145 from the $2,128,145 total in the original motion, and that would be subtracted from the sheriff's allocation in the budget. Did I get that something close to correct, Colleen? Yes, okay. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
The nays appear to have it. So I'm going to declare that the amendment failed, and we'll go back to the main motion. Any further discussion on the main motion? Yes.
Hi, Russ Lazaruk. I want to understand the $100,000 surplus that's being applied. My understanding is that we've had surplus now for a couple of years, mainly due to grants for road work, other capital expenditures. Why are we not applying that money that was previously given by the town for that work and using grants as additional instead of taking the grants back and now just moving that money forward? It seems like we've got enough work to do that we could certainly be using that money.
Thank you, Russ. Any response from the select board? Or the, yeah.
I'm only speaking as one of the selectmen. I think we look at our budget every year and we try to be responsible to the town voters. We looked at it and went over the highway crew, what we have time to do in this next fiscal year. Everything that we saw, and Chucky could speak to it, that we think that we could possibly get done was budgeted for. So I don't know where the 100,000 would go right away without actually sitting down as a select board in the town. But when we meet with the highway crew and with Russ, we're going over what are we going to get done on the roads this year, whether it's paving, whether it's replacing a box culvert. And as far as I know right now, this is the amount of money that we need in our budget, and we return 100,000. Maybe next year I'll come and ask to borrow it back again to do a project that we didn't see. But right now, I think we're pretty comfortable with this budget that we have for the highway crew.
Any further discussion? Sure, Susan.
And I don't believe the surplus is not only just from grants for the roads. I believe some of that is from, for instance, when we budget for delinquent taxes, we don't know how many are going to be collected. And we usually collect more than we budget for. And also interest income, we're never quite sure how much we're going to get for interest, so we're conservative in budgeting for that. And so that adds to it as well. Russ, do you have anything more to add to that?
Kevin?
Yeah. Also, last year, if everyone recalls, with the COVID issue, if you go back and look at it, we had a discussion about we weren't really sure also where we were going to be. And we wanted to make sure, based on not knowing, remember back then, to where we are now, what could have happened or maybe adversely affected taxpayers and individuals, and the disparate impact that can have on our budget. Moreover, um, the perhaps likelihood that our fellow citizens might need some relief, you know, even though it worked out better, I think, than it looked at the time. So that is taken into consideration. I just wanted everyone in the community to know that that was a big part of a lot of our discussion, was tracking how this was working and not just tracking whether or not federal dollars were going to be available, you know, to alleviate, not only alleviate certain shortfalls, but, you know, maybe even enhance things going in the future. So I just want to remind everybody that we were looking at a COVID situation throughout the fiscal year. We did take that into consideration every time that we were reviewing what we were spending, how we were spending, and making sure that not knowing also too what taxpayers ultimately would need or not need at the end of the fiscal year. And thank you very much, moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Any further discussion? In that case, we shall vote on the Westminster authorized total general fund expenditures for operating expenses of $2,128,145, of which $1,504,265 shall be raised by taxes and $523,880 by estimated revenue, and $100,000 from fiscal year 2019 to 2020 general fund for surplus for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to Article 4. Jason, I think
I move Article 4 as written.
is there a second? Seconded by Craig Allen. Article 4 reads, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $145,000 for the town highway equipment reserve fund? Are there any questions, any discussion? Seeing none, and does the select board have anything to say? No. Okay. Then we will vote on the motion. Shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $145,000 for the town highway equipment reserve fund? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Article 5.
I move the article as warned.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kevin Hughes. Article 5 reads, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for the Bridge Rehabilitation Reserve Fund? Any questions, discussion? Mr. Major. Randy Major has queried the select board. Susan.
I can answer that. I'll give you sort of an overview of this in Article 7, which is also addressing the bridge fund. So the Bridge Rehabilitation Fund now has $132,280 as of right now. So the next bridge to be done is the one over Saxons River on Route 121. They're going to start on that next summer. That's being rehabbed. So the cost of the town will be $53,000. That's 2.5%. And we've already paid $8,000 of that. And that's 2.5% of the cost because we're closing Route 121 instead of putting up a temporary bridge, which would be much more expensive. But the next bridge to be done after that will be the one over East Putney Brook on the Westminster West Road. That's scheduled for FY24. And the cost to the town for that will be 200,000, and that's 5% because that's going to be a total replacement of the bridge. And there's not really a good alternative for an alternate route. So I guess to recapitulate, we have 132,380 in the bridge fund. If this article and Article 7 pass, that adds $25,000, and we'll have 157,280. We'll need to spend 45,000 more for the Route 121 bridge. That will leave us 112,280 in the reserve fund, and we'll have to be raising some more to make the 200,000 for the East Putney Brook Road in the next couple of years.
Thank you, Susan. Any further questions? Okay, we'll vote on the Article 5. Shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for the Bridge Rehabilitation Reserve Fund? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to Article 6. What is your pleasure?
I move the article as warned.
Toby Young has moved the article as warned. Is there a second? Seconded by Craig Allen. Article 6. Shall the voters of the town of Westminster authorize the sum of $35,000 to be transferred from the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 general fund surplus into the capital improvement fund for the renovation of the Westminster Town Hall previously established by Article 15 at the annual town meeting of March 1, 1999. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will vote on the motion, which reads as I just read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Thank you. Wind is causing some. Okay, we're moving on to Article 7. Let's see, Susan, I have you.
I move the article as warned.
Susan Harlow has moved the article as warned. Is there a second? Seconded by Toby Young. Article 7. Shall the voters of the town of Westminster authorize the sum of $10,000
Sorry.
to be transferred from the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 general fund surplus into the Bridge Rehabilitation Fund for the preservation of our bridges previously established by Article 17 at the annual meeting of March 2nd, 2010. This, I think, is what you were just referring to. Correct. Any discussion on this?
I have one more comment. According to Russ, we have, after the East Putney Brook Bridge, we have nothing in the foreseeable future, no bridges that we're going to have to replace anytime soon. Yes? Except for maintenance.
Okay. Any discussion? Then Article 7, shall the voters of the town of Westminster authorize the sum of $10,000 to be transferred from the fiscal year 2019-2020 general fund surplus into the Bridge Rehabilitation Fund for the preservation of our bridges previously established by Article 17 at the annual meeting of March 2nd, 2010. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and Article 7 passes. Article 8. What is your pleasure?
I move the article as ordered.
Chairman Kevin Hughes moves the article as printed as warned. Is there a second? Seconded by Susan Harlow. Article 8, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $800 in addition to the sum of $4,600 included in the budget proposed by the select board, making the total $5,400 for the support of the Westminster Gazette. Any discussion? Seeing no questions or discussion, all those in favor of this motion as I just recited, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The article, I declare the article is passed. Article 8 is passed. Thank you. Article 9. Craig.
Mr. Chair, I love this new system. I just got a hold of sign up. It's the first least amount of thing I've ever had to say. I moved the article as warned because Kevin didn't say it right.
Is there a second? Seconded by Ian Proctor. Article 9. Shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 in addition to the sum of $11,500 included in the budget proposed by the select board, making the total $14,000 for the support of visiting nurses and hospice. Let's see, any discussion? Let's see. I have Woodbridge Fuller. Woody Fuller.
It seems to me when we have issues that add or subtract to our budget, that the object from which they are adding or subtracting the budget, particularly our annual budget, that these questions should be come up before we actually okay the budget. And so that's my issue. Here we're adding, what are we adding? We're adding 2,500. That alters the budget that we are being presented with. And it just seems to me that sometimes anything that's going to alter our eventual vote on the budget ought to come before we start making changes to the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Woody, I think the select board almost agrees with you, but there's no other procedure other than do it this way. Because every time we turn around, that's what we have to do is come back to you on the last article and give you the whole new number with all these articles included. Yeah.
Any further discussion? Mr. Wickberg.
I just wanted to point out that from my reading of the budget, it appears that these additional sums are already included in the line item. So what you're really going to have is money. If since we've already voted the lump sum, if we vote any of these down, you're just going to have a little bit of extra money. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but
that's not correct. It's not in the budget.
Well,
now,
hold on a second here. Let's turn to page 16. We're voting right now on, let me flip back over here. This is Article 8. So they're asking for, the Gazette is asking for 5,400 instead of 46. And where's the Gazette? It's line 3611070.10, and the 21 budget is $5,400, which is the increased amount. The Butterfield Library is in there for $7,500. That one's coming up.
Yeah.
Russ Hodgkins.
So if you're looking at those line items correctly, such as the Gazette, the proposed FY22 budget, it's a misprint in the town report, which I apologize for. But the item that is in the budget that we just voted on was 4,600. The Gazette is actually asking for 5,400. So hence it is in the budget, but this new article that you're passing is not in the budget that we voted on previously. Using the one that we're just doing, visiting nurses, it's in the budget at $11,500. They're asking for $14,000. So that extra will be added to the bottom line. And each of them are done in this way.
Thank you, Russ. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, the motion reads, this is Article 9. Shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 in addition to the sum of $11,500 included in the budget proposed by the select board, making the total $14,000 for the support of visiting nurses and hospice? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And the motion passes. Okay, moving on to Article 10.
I move the article as warned.
Is there a second? Seconded by Susan Harlow. Article 10, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $500 in addition to the sum of $2,500 included in the budget proposed by the select board, making the total $3,000 for the support of Southeastern Vermont Community Action, SEVCA, to assist Westminster in responding to the emergency needs of the community and providing all available and applicable services to families and individuals in need.
Can I speak
Toby.
just briefly? SEVCA is asking for $3,000 total. This is the third year for this amount, and if it is accepted, will become part of the future budget.
Thank you, Toby. Any further questions or discussion? Article 10, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $500 in addition to the sum of $2,500 included in the budget proposed by the select board, making the total $3,000 for the support of Southeastern Vermont Community Action, SEVCA, to assist Westminster in responding to the emergency needs of the community and providing all available and applicable services to families and individuals in need. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries. Article 11. Mr. Allen.
I move the article as warned.
Craig Allen has moved the article as warned. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kevin Hughes. Article 11, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $1,000 for the support of Senior Solutions, Council of Aging for Southeastern Vermont Incorporated, to provide services to the aging and disabled residents of the town. Any discussion? Okay, then all those in favor of Article 11, as I just read, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Article 11 passes. Thank you. Article 12.
I move the article as warned.
Is there a second? Susan Harlow moved the article. Woodbridge Fuller seconds. Article 12. Shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $7,500 to support the cost of operation and maintenance of the Westminster Institute and Butterfield Library? Any discussion? Yes.
Hello. My name is Jim Matto. I'm currently the board chair at the Institute and Library. Excuse me. And I have a little hay fever. I just want to give you a few points for people's information. As most of you know, we closed the building to the public in the early onset of the COVID problem, and it stayed completely closed except for offices. People were allowed to go in and use offices, but closed to the public until July last year, when we did open up for people to make reservations and request books and pick them up by curbside. Um, but the building remained closed otherwise. And during that time, just under 1,750 books were taken out. Well, most of that was during that time. This month, we opened for people to come in by appointment, limiting the access, but making it available. And in the only 4 days so far in May that's been available, 82 books have gone out. So on the library end, we're phasing that back in, and hopefully we can loosen the strings on that a lot in the near future. But we don't want to open up so quickly that we have to turn around and ratchet it back down. But it looks like we're close. On the other end of things, there haven't been exercise classes, you can understand, since COVID started, and we don't know when that might begin. There haven't been family parties and things. We'd like to see that back. We are encouraging outdoor activities, and there are a couple of activities scheduled already in June out here. We don't charge for that unless there's something that costs us a great expense. And just give us a call if anyone is interested in doing that. By the way, we do encourage people back to the library. Please do take advantage of the opportunity. There's an article in the May Gazette. If you can't come in and prefer it, they'll still bring a book out to you, so that can still work. One of the things, this is being streamed a little more easily on our end this year because there is a new Wi-Fi set up here. And I've checked it out this morning. The speed on my phone, which is not particularly up-to-date piece of equipment, was 47 megabytes per second, 47 download and 17 upload, which is pretty good. And I've had good receipts around third base out there. So we encourage people to come and use it. When you sign on, you don't want to use the Butterfield Library hotspot. You want to use what's called the Westminster hotspot. And that's the little white gizmo with the antennas to the left of the door back there. And that was put in there at no charge by the Vermont Department of Public Service. The only requirement on us is that it be made available at no charge to the general public. So please, we see more and more cars out here at odd times, and we're pretty sure that they're taking advantage of that. And you're welcome to do that. Don't do anything illegal, please. During the time that the building's been closed, we've also been taking some other steps. The gym floor and the stage have been totally refinished. Furniture has been made safe to put back on the floor. I'm dreading that, like the first scratch on a new car, but it does look nice. Just a little trivia, we did find out that the floor and the stage were well built in 1920 something because they were in great shape. The floor is all white oak and the stage is all maple, and we think it looks pretty good. So we hope you'll like it. In the near future, we'll be hopefully, pending a review by the historic board, we're going to be replacing the pressure treated timber fence out front that's been removed with granite posts, which will be a little more appropriate to the building, we think, and with chains suspended between them. So that's it. There's going to be a maple tree planted in that spot that currently is our straw henge, I like to call it. But there's going to be a small maple tree planted there at the request of the family in memory of Kevin Schrader. And they will be doing that during a family gathering in June. And that's it, other than to, on behalf of the board, extend our thanks and congratulations again to Laurie Miller, who's been amazing in keeping a lot of this stuff going. And unless there are questions, that's all of your time I'm going to consume today. Thanks. Is the elevator operating? My favorite topic? No. We are now at the point that after doing everything we could to keep that thing going, and sometimes for disturbingly short periods, we have bitten the bullet. We have an architect working with us now. With his assistance, we're trying first to navigate for a small state, we have some really big rules and a lot of them. And elevators are actually, there's two different areas in the state where regulation comes into play. So he's helping us with that. If it goes our way, we will have an affordable way to put a much more modern piece of equipment in there. If it doesn't go our way, and he's working hard on our behalf, we would have to rebuild the entire elevator shaft. Because what was put in there in the first place wouldn't accommodate a fully modern elevator. It would accommodate a smaller scale piece of equipment, and we don't know yet which we're going to be allowed to do. But he's working on it, and when I asked about time, I said, well, we won't be voting in there again until at least next March. And he kind of chuckled and said, yeah, well, he's being told by companies on other projects to talk to them for construction work after 2022. So hopefully this is the kind of job that'll be small enough to squeeze in, but the jury's out. Sorry, I wish I had more news.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for the work that you do and the Institute Board does. Okay, any further discussion? Article 12, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $7,500 to support the cost of operation and maintenance of the Westminster Institute and Butterfield Library? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Article 13, shall the, excuse me. What is your pleasure? Jason.
I move the article as warned.
Jason Perry has moved the article as warned. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kevin Hughes. Article 13, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $3,000 for the support of the Westminster Historical Society? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in, oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Ruth.
Ruth.
I'm Ruth Grandy, President of the Westminster Historical Society. This article is the third year of the appropriation being proposed, and following this year, it'll become a line item in the annual budget with your approval.
Thank you, Ruth. Any further discussion? Article 13, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $3,000 for the support of the Westminster Historical Society? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it and the article carries. Article 14.
That's me. I move the article as warned.
Greg Allen has moved the article as warned. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Toby Young. Article 14, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 for the support of Greater Falls Connections to provide substance abuse prevention programs to the residents of the town? Any discussion? Seeing none, we will vote. All those in favor of the article as I just read, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The Article 14 passes. Article 15.
I move the article as warned.
Craig Allen moves the article as warned. Is there a second? Seconded by Jason Perry. Article 15. Shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $9,534 for the support of Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategies, SEVEDS, to provide workforce and economic coordination services to the Wyndham region. Any discussion? Mr. Proctor.
Thank you. If you look in the town report on page 16, you'll see all this stuff laid out. SevEds, you can see it has been in for a couple of years. This has attracted a great deal of discussion at prior town meetings with questions about how much service they actually provide to residents of the town of Westminster, which to my mind have never been successfully answered. Whether they're in the schools or not in the schools, whether it's them in the schools or, you know, the entity of which they are a part. But if you look at your budget, the SevEds line item has been in there for $3,500 for the last couple of years. That was some kind of compromise amendment. They always come in with I think it's a $3 per head for the population of the town of Westminster. Nobody's ever been able to explain to my satisfaction what the significance of that $3 a head is. And I've done a lot of polling of other towns in the county, and pretty much nobody pays that. Some pay nothing. Many towns pay nothing. Some pay $1 a head, including Brattleboro, which it seems to get the greatest bang for the buck out of the programming. Most of the work that they do really seems to be centered around the Brattleboro High School. So it's really questionable how much happens in Bellows Falls, where our kids are going. So, I mean, my inclination is to just plain oppose the article entirely. But in the spirit of compromise, I will move an amendment that the amount to be appropriated be reduced to the $3,500 that we've given them for the last couple of years. And with the request that the select board, when they send them the check, tell them to take a hint and stop coming back to us with this number that makes no sense. We'll give you $3,500 and we'd appreciate a thank you and stick to that.
I need to acknowledge that that Fletcher proposed an amendment. And Ian, am I correct? That needs to be seconded? Yes. And someone seconded it. Bob Wickberg seconded it. Now I'm opening it up for discussion on that amendment, and Molly has the floor.
Molly Bannock. I'm your Bellows Falls High School chair. I've been the chair for a couple of years, on the board for 4 or 5 years after that. I'm going to tell you that I sometimes don't agree with what Fletcher said, but I am in total agreement. So I've never missed a meeting. They have never presented themselves to the high school board. When I ask the principal what they're doing for us, I get a kind of answer of, yeah, they're around, but what do they really do for our kids? And we, in the last year haven't had to do much, but we do, job fairs and stuff. I don't think they're doing anything for our towns. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Any further discussion on the amendment?
And Fletcher, we hit last year, they came to us when we did it, and we said, if you leave it 3,500, you won't have to go out and get both because of COVID-19. Their answer was, heck with you, we're going out, and came back and still asked for the 9,000. And we turned around still through the, blessings of the voters here, lowered to 3,500. But same thing, I can never seem to get an answer what they do and why they're coming in front of us. So thank you.
Mr. Matteau.
Thank you. Sorry, Molly, I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do there. My only question is, I'm not sure, is this the second time we'd be giving them 3,500 or the third time? If it's the third time, then previous comments make me think that they would automatically be in the budget next time, and I didn't think that was the intent.
The answer to your question, I'm just relaying what Russ is saying. It doesn't count unless you actually apply for the 35, and because they didn't, and they always applied for the 9, they still got to start over again. Okay, so they would be back here again. Either this time asking for the 35 next year and then it would count, or if they come back and ask for the 9,000, they got to go through this again.
So, okay, so you said the fact that it was appropriated at the same thing for 3 years doesn't get around the other question. It wouldn't, okay. I just wanted to be sure, otherwise I
Yeah.
was gonna amend it up by $1.
That was my answer, and I didn't see, yeah. I was giving you that answer, and I didn't see Fletcher standing up to correct me, so it must be the right answer, so.
I'll go with that, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any further discussion? Yes.
Hi, Sarah Waldo. I'm wondering why we are going to give them anything if the people who are most directly involved with the high school have seen no sign of any kind of improvement or activity. To just throw them a bone for $3,500 seems crazy to me. So I just, can I make an amendment to the amendment?
You can, we will have the opportunity of voting on the main motion in fairly short order, which would give you the opportunity to vote down any quantity of money.
Okay, all right.
So, thank you.
I'm Nancy Dalzell, and I just wanted to echo what Sarah just said. Why are we giving them anything if they're not doing anything for us?
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, we currently have an amendment on the floor to substitute $3,500 for the $9,534 that is in the original motion. Any further discussion on that amendment? Marion Major.
This is Marion Major. I wanted to point out that especially in the year of COVID-19 affecting all our small businesses, SEVIDS does work outside of high schools and works very closely with businesses across the region. And in a time where businesses need a lot of help, I think that it's really important to remember that they have been there. They've been reaching out to businesses and offering support throughout this year, which is pretty critical. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any further discussion? Okay, so we will then take up the amendment, which is to substitute $3,500 for the $9,534 in the original motion. All those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it, and the motion then now reads, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $3,500 for the support of Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategies, SEVEDS, to provide workforce and economic coordination services to the Wyndham region. Any further discussion on the main motion? Okay, then we will vote on the main motion. Again, it says, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $3,500 for the support of Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategies, SEVEDS, to provide workforce and economic coordination services to the Wyndham region. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those say nay.
Nay. Mr. Major, can you explain that if we say nay, we're giving them nothing. If we say yay, we're giving 3,500. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So
And-
everybody that says nay, we're giving them nothing. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. And I was not able to tell whether the ayes had it or the nays had it. So I'm going to ask for a show of hands. A show of hands. All those in favor of this Article 15 as amended, that is in favor of funding the $3,500 to SEVEDS, raise your hand. Okay, is there a civil authority board to count, please? please keep your hands up until we let you know that to put them down. In favor? Okay, now all those opposed, please raise your hand. And tell the ayes from the nays.
I love it. Even the household can't even agree. Hey, Fletcher, do you know what she did behind your back?
46. Okay. The motion fails with a vote of 39 aye and 46 nay. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Article 16. What is your pleasure?
I move. Me? Now, I move the article as warned.
Toby Young moves the article as warned. Is there a second? Seconded by Susan Harlow. Article 16 reads, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $7,000 to the Westminster West Library to join the Catamount Library Network. This will pay for additional hours for the librarian and additional annual costs associated with joining the network. Any discussion? Or
There's Emily.
yes.
Hi there. Thanks for
Please.
being here, everybody. You hear me? I'm Emily Weinberg. I'm speaking on behalf of the library, the Westminster West Library. We have two fabulous libraries in town, and we support each other. I've been on the board for about 5 years, and we have made this commitment this year to automate our collection, which means to put it in a digital database so that all our books can be online and accessible, and to make the library have even more impact for the whole town. We would like to be part of this Catamount consortium of libraries. So our collection is part of the great collection of the Catamount network. And people have been using the library so often and so well, especially during the last year. This is a move to make our library more accessible through people being able to browse books at home online as well as being in the library. And if we have more open hours at the library, we certainly have more patronage and more usage of the library. The other part of it is having our circulation be much more efficient by being online rather than having little cards sticking in the books. We'll be able to scan books. You'll get an email to tell you if you need to renew a book. And we've really done the work of getting volunteers to catalog all the books. We're in the process of it right now. So going forward, this will help us have those additional hours and better accessibility for everyone to access books. The library is also a community space, so we're looking forward to opening it for kids programming and more adult programming as soon as we're able to. I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. So, yes, there's a couple. Soroya.
Thanks. I was just wondering, is this a one-time thing for setting it up, or does this mean this amount would be happening every year to keep it going? You know, do you follow what I'm getting at?
Yes. Is there an answer from the library or from maybe from the library?
This is to cover additional operating cost. And so we are asking for this sum for just this year, and then we would return to ask for it 2 more consecutive years in order to be in the have this for the budget permanently. So this is a year to year right now.
Thank you, Emily. Any further questions or discussion? Yes, Sarah. Oh, no. I'm sorry, Judy.
Judy Coven. I just not sure that it was completely clear that by joining the Catamount system, it makes people who want to use the Catamount system, Westminster residents who want to use it, can borrow books from libraries all around the state. So it makes the collection much, much bigger that's available to the people of Westminster. I wasn't sure if that was clear.
Thank you, Judy. Peter.
This is independent of the interlibrary loan system that currently exists. This is a separate entity from the state that's much more efficient. Also, the library is normally funded. So this is asking for some additional requests, but it's not simply $7,000. It's not been addressed before in past years.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, Sarah.
Is the Butterfield Library part of this Catamount library system?
Jim.
Butterfield Library. Short answer is no. The Butterfield Library books are available online. Has been coded. That was a process that started a couple years ago. That's pretty much completed. It is completed now. So you can scan books from. You can do it online. You can order online, but it's not part of the Catamount. The Institute and the Butterfield Library belong to the Green Mountain Library Consortium and another organization called Library World, which lets you scan collections all over the world, although I think you could probably do that online without our assistance. But the Catamount is different, and I don't know the differences exactly between them. This library belongs to the Green Mountain Library Consortium, but the effect is the same. You can order books from home. You can browse the collection from home, etc. You simply have to have a library card. I refer you back to the Gazette article in May. If you live in Westminster, you're automatically a member here, and if you say so, there's no cost to it, and you'll get a library card and a library number. A lot of people have taken books out for decades not knowing that they have a library number because you've never needed to record it. Now, if you go online, you're going to need it. And so you can get a nice little modern looking card. Just ask for it at the library. But short answer is no. That was the long answer.
Anything further? Okay, seeing no more discussion or questions. The article reads, shall the voters of the town of Westminster raise and appropriate the sum of $7,000 to the Westminster West Library to join the Catamount Library Network? This will pay for additional hours for the librarian and additional annual costs associated with joining the network. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Okay, we come now to Article 17. Mr. Hughes.
I move the article as warned.
The article is moved as warned. Is there a second? Seconded by Toby Young. Okay, well, let's see. I think that Mr. Proctor, Ian Proctor, could you come up here for a second, please? um, Okay, I would like to say a couple of words, and apparently I can't lead this motion or vote while if I do so. So I'm going to recuse myself and ask the town clerk, Pauline, to take over the running of the motion.
So, Article 17, shall the, I better put the glasses on, excuse me. Shall the voters of the town of Westminster elect 5 town residents to a Westminster Town School District Board with staggered terms as existed prior to the forced merger of Westminster into the Wyndham Northeast Union Elementary School District.
Okay, I would like to say a couple of words. Yes, it was moved and seconded earlier. So, as I'm sure you all know, we voted to withdraw from the forced to merge district of Athens, Grafton, and Westminster that we were forced into about 2 years ago. And Athens and Grafton approved that withdrawal this past town meeting date in March. So then we had to go before the Board of Education. The Board of Education gave their blessing as they were required to do if our schools were found to be to meet the standards of the state. And so then, or as part of that process, we thought that the select board should warn a vote for electing a new school board, and that's what you see before you. It turns out that from the point of view of the state authorities, that is not what should have happened, because what this is a new municipality, a new municipal organization, perhaps I should say, and that has to, the first warning of that municipal organization needs to come from the Secretary of State, and every new municipal organization has 3 board members, not 5. So that is requiring us to have a vote probably sometime in June for 3 board members. It'll be an Australian ballot vote sometime in June for 3 board members. And Pauline and the Secretary of State are working out the exact date. It's a very important time. We're coming out of a pandemic. There's actually a lot of funds coming to the school through pandemic assistance monies, and we're reestablishing our school district. So the main thing I want to say is, if you have an interest in running for one of these positions, please leave your name with Pauline at the town hall soon, because the paper ballots have to be printed up and beforehand. Of course, there can be write-in votes, but in general, if you have an interest in running for the school board, please get your name to the town hall sometime soon. Yeah, within the next probably week or so. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Pauline.
Anyone else have anything to discuss?
Can I just ask you a question, David? When do you expect that we'll have a school budget?
Bob just asked when we'll have a school budget. The State Board of Education said that we can reestablish our school district by July 1, 22. That is not this coming fiscal year, a fiscal year following, if this summer we elect these 3-person board. By September 8th, the 3-person interim board works out a financial arrangement with the unified district, essentially with Athens and Grafton. And the town has an opportunity to vote on that by September 8th, that financial arrangement. It's going to be fairly simple, because we got married very recently, so the divorce will be fairly quick. But nevertheless, that is what the State Board of Education has required that we do, which means that we're all going to have to come to the polls twice in this summer at dates that have yet to be worked out, but will be worked out in the next couple of days, I think. And vote first on those board and second on these financial arrangement with Athens and Grafton. We may also throw in two people to the board at that point, so that we have our 5-person board back.
Thanks, Adrian Major. I just have a point of order. We have a motion before us that's been made and seconded. Is that motion then to be withdrawn?
I would welcome a motion to table the article.
We could even complicate things for you by making it a motion to pass over. I guess I'm speaking in favor of the motion to table. Passover is a kind of archaic form that other towns favor, but Westminster rarely uses. So I think a motion to table is in order. I'm speaking in favor of that.
Second on that? Susan? So
I guess you could treat me as the second on the motion to table.
well, I believe Russ made the motion to table, and Susan seconded it, and Fletcher spoke in favor. Okay, so all those in favor of tabling motion 17, could I have aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion, Article 17 is tabled. And I'm passing the mic back to the moderator of the meeting.
Thank you, Pauline. Okay, moving on to the next article, which is to transact any other business proper to be brought before the Town of Westminster annual meeting. Mr. Stephen Major.
I just wanted to note that I was at the Westminster West Cemetery the other day, and frost heaves have toppled over quite a number of the stones on the eastern side of that, and should be addressed. This would be to cemetery folks.
Thank you, Stephen. Molly Bannock.
So I hope everybody understood what just happened on Articles 17. We are going to have a town school board that is just Westminster School now. And if everybody just takes a minute and thinks about that, get involved. You're right now, they're telling you have 3 people that are going to be on your school board for the town. Hopefully we're going to change it to 5. I think that's what they're hoping, but get involved. It may sound like it's a daunting task and it's not a very rewarding job. I've done it for a long time, but put your name in the hat. Get involved in your town, get involved in your kids. Thank you.
Business before the town.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Proctor.
I'd just like to, everybody was very kind at the beginning of the meeting and thanking me, and I'd like to turn that around. Thinking back on it, I mean, I moved into this town in 1978 when a couple of friends of mine and I from college bought a house from Tony and Judy Coven, and we're still speaking to them. Well, yeah, barely. The other 2 friends are dead now, but I've actually lived in 8 different towns in Vermont and for various lengths of time, as far north as Elmore and as far south as Halifax. And I really didn't land in Westminster with any particular intent to remain. Town kind of grows on you, though. But so I'm going to say the trite thing that people say when they leave office, which is, I really appreciate the opportunity to have served you. It has frankly been inspiring in a profound way. This is a great town, and you do democracy really well. Thank you.
Dick Miller.
Dick.
Just a question of the candidates running for school board, the new school board, are you going to be required, or are they going to be required to get 30 or however many signatures we used to get?
Believe, yeah, they've waived that because of the pen. So the people who ran in March for positions in town just needed to go to the town hall and give their consent to run, and did not need those signatures, and that is still in effect. So there's nothing stopping you. Okay, Ms. Charles.
Thank you, Cheryl Charles. I've had the honor of serving as a school board member for Westminster. Now I'm in my 6th year. And I want to echo what Molly Bannock said a few minutes ago. This is really an important and exciting time that with the blessing of the State Board of Education, we're able to bring the leadership and responsibility for our children and our community back to the town. We've had a great relationship with our friends in Athens and Grafton. As everyone knows, there's no direct route, no road that makes it easy to get there. There is a distance involved. We've worked well with them, but this is so important to bring this leadership back home. And I really look forward to the involvement of many more of you. David Major predicted this when we were forcibly merged with Athens and Grafton, and the number of people on the school board was reduced from 5 to 2. 2 from Athens, 2 from Grafton, 2 from Westminster. And we saw a reduction in the number of people volunteering to serve on committees. I'm just saying it's a very important time for a variety of reasons to strengthen the schools even more. They're great schools. You voters, our voters in Westminster, have been incredibly supportive for a long time. Having said this, this is really a good time to get involved. So I thank you all for your support and your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any further business?
David, my name is Patty Whalen, and this is an open time to make a request. And although it isn't specifically related to our town, it is all about our town. From 2004 to 2014, I brought Afghan women judges to this town. Many of you were involved in that project. We didn't speak a lot. We didn't seek publicity at the time because of their safety. At the time, there were 100 women judges in Afghanistan. We brought 40 of them to this town. They experienced something that I think most of us take for granted. Everything from the air to families to communities to how we work together. Right now, I spoke to these judges. The good news is there's almost 300 women judges in Afghanistan now. The truth is, though, because of the American decision and the NATO's decisions to pull out, their lives are at risk. They are not making any comment on the pullout. They understand all of the reasons for that. What they're asking is that every person call their congressional representatives and make a plea that they are included in the peace talks that are somewhat stalled at the moment, but will hopefully go on. They have not, the women of Afghanistan and the security for the women of Afghanistan has not been brought in, as unbelievable as this is, has not been brought into the negotiations. As a result of this, I spoke again, as I said, last week to many of them by Zoom. That was a lot of fun. But they feel like the Taliban hasn't changed. I think we all understand that. There's been no change in them. And they are looking at a death sentence. They're not looking to come here. They're not seeking asylum. They're not seeking refugee status. They want to remain in their country, and they are willing to die for it because they saw something when they came here that they want to bring to their own country. And I would love for us to be able to give them that chance. So if you can call and make a plea for their safety to be included, enforceable provisions that women do not lose their jobs when the Taliban come back into control, and they will come back into control. And if there are security measures put in place to make sure that that happens, it would be the least we could do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any further business? Lori.
I just want to say thank you, and I'm very humbled.
We moved here in 1967, and this is we have our little piece of paradise up on the hill. We're kind of in no man's land, and this was a total shock to us that we were honored with this honor. Selectman of the Year, thank you.
Any further business? Okay. Oh, Itzhak. Itzhak Shaul.
That was the first thing to make you laugh. The second thing is that what you heard about Afghanistan is really very, very important. I was honored to host dinner for some of those Afghani ladies when they were here, and I am still in touch with them, and they really need our help. So I want to re-emphasize your help to help those Afghani women and all Afghani people. What I wanted to say before I heard this great speech is I have one problem with this society, and don't be shocked. We have lived in many countries, in West Africa, in Ivory Coast, in Singapore, in Japan, and traveled all around the world. And I have loved many of these countries and their cultures, and still don't like some of the things. Here in Ivory Coast, in um, Westminster West, we love everything, the nature, the people, the neighbors. There is one thing that bothers me, that is people free to throw their bottles and the cans out of the car. I have stopped some of them. I said, why are you doing that? He said, because there are some people who have the job collecting it. So my message here is, instead of, it's good to support and fund the people who do the job every year, but it is better to let the people in this society know it shouldn't be allowed to throw the bottles and cans out of the cars when they have drank their beer and whiskey and water. And I hope you can give that message to all the people involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay, with that, I will declare the town portion of this meeting over and ask the Prudential Committee to come up. Thank you. Thank you, Select Board. Okay, now we'll open the Fire District Annual Meeting, and we start with Article 19.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Katie Dearborn. I was appointed at our organizational meeting to be the chair of the Prudential Committee. I was recently voted in. Thank you all for being here today. Before I begin, I just have a couple of remarks. Chris Hackett had been chairing this committee for quite some time. He recently decided that he wasn't going to run, which gave me the opportunity to. I want to thank Chris for his years of service. It's 20 years plus. He has done a fantastic job with this committee. I was really excited to jump in because everything is in place. We have a very strong organization. And again, from our committee, thank you, Chris. We appreciate all the work that you've done. So we'll move on to Article 19. I make a motion that we move Article 19 as warned.
And Ian, yes. Seconded by Ian Proctor. Okay, Article 19, to hear the reports of the town fire district number 3 and to take action thereupon. Any comments or anything from the Prudential Committee about the reports?
I'm happy to review the budget. The budget is here. There.
Katie, maybe we want to review the budget when we vote on
Okay.
at the time. Yeah. But just the reports themselves, any discussion or questions? Okay.
No, I think we're all set.
Great. Article 19, to hear the reports of the town fire district number 3 and to take action thereon. Do we vote on this, Ian? We don't necessarily have to. Okay. So with there being no questions or discussion, we'll move on to Article 20.
I move Article 20 as warned.
Thank you, Katie. Is there a second? Seconded by Chris Harlow. So Article 20, to see whether the town fire district number 3 shall authorize and instruct its prudential committee and treasurer to borrow money, if necessary, to meet current expenses on the credit of the district in anticipation of the collection of taxes and or the receipt of any state or federal funds. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote on the motion as I just read. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. On to Article 21.
I would move Article 21 as warned.
Chris Harlow has moved Article 21. Is there a second? Seconded by Katie Dearborn. Article 21, to see if the voters of the town fire district number 3 will raise and appropriate the sum of $277,230 to pay the indebtedness and other general expenses of the district for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30, 2022. Any discussion? Katie, is this when you wanted to talk about the budget?
Yeah, or go ahead, Woody, and then I'll be happy to.
Woodbridge Fuller.
My question is, what is this money being spent for? What specific items? Can you elaborate or identify?
Yeah, I absolutely can. So in the town report, there is a document that covers the entire budget for the fire district. Everything is itemized. There's a couple of line items that I just want to highlight because I feel like it gives you a good impression of the things that we're faced with. Insurance costs continue to go up.
Katie, could you refer us to a page?
I'm not seeing a page, so hold on one second. So it would be 84. Sorry, there's no number at the bottom of that particular document, but it is 84. So as I said, the insurance, which is currently 33,000, or in this budget is 33,000, that's an item that's gone up slightly. We also have our last bond payment on the firehouse over here. So the 30,000 that you're looking at in this budget is going to be the last year that we have to pay that out. We continue to put around 42,500 in our capital reserve fund. We've been discussing the equipment that needs to be replaced over time. There's an additional article today that you can vote on that is for a rescue truck. We need to continue doing that capital reserve payment just to make sure that we have funds for when we do need to make those purchases. In addition, the firehouse at some point is going to need a roof. So that's been a part of our conversation as well. And that's, you know, kind of 5-10 year timeline on things that we're looking at. So not anything upcoming in the next couple of years. Anyone else? No? Any questions from anyone on the budget? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion? Then Article 21, to see if the voters of the town fire district number 3 will raise and appropriate the sum of $277,230 to pay the indebtedness and other general expenses of the district for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30, 2022. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The Article 21 passes. Article 22. What is your pleasure?
Want to make sure. I move Article 22 as warned.
Dan has moved Article 22 as warned. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Fuller. Okay. Any discussion? Thank you, Russ. Article 22, shall the voters of the town fire district number 3 authorize the purchase of a new rescue vehicle in the amount not to exceed $250,000, said purchase to be reduced by $100,000 from capital reserve funds and the balance to be financed by general obligation note in the amount not to exceed $150,000 for a term not to exceed 5 years. Any discussion?
One thing that I'll point out is we are not going to have the bond payment on the firehouse over here going forward. This machine will be ordered. It's very likely that we're not going to get it until after the first of next year. The first payment is likely going to be due in our next budget season, which is when we would come back to the voters with a line item, which is for the payment of that $150,000 that we're going to be amortizing out over 5 years. That payment is very similar to the $30,000 that we've been spending. So that makes me feel that we're going to come forward with some budgets that are very similar to what's before you today.
Thank you, Katie. Any further discussion? Okay, Article 22, shall the voters of the town fire district number 3 authorize the purchase of a new rescue vehicle in the amount not to exceed $250,000, said purchase to be reduced by $100,000 from capital reserve funds and the balance to be financed by general obligation note in the amount not to exceed $150,000 for a term not to exceed 5 years. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Article 23, to transact any other business proper to be brought before the town fire district number 3 meeting.
I move Article 23 as warned.
I think actually we don't even need to
Okay,
move
great.
this one. We just, if there is any business, we can address it. Any further business by the Prudential?
No.
Okay, well then thank you, Prudential Committee. And I also wanted, after the fact, to thank Floyd, Josh Lawrence for the sound system. Now that we know that it has worked well. Thank you, Lawrence's, for the sound system. He threatened actually to put on a concert, which is what this system is usually used for. Okay, thank you all for coming. It's been a wonderful morning. We were blessed with the weather, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Russ had to open his mouth.